does Mike McDaniel's getting closer to death mean he's getting closer to being fired? I think he's about done. I think this is the last year of Mike McDaniel. I think the 5th or 6th search was Mike McDaniel hot seat. Not good. Not what you want to see when you Google yourself, am I about to get fired? It's well talked about. It's a thing, and I think that Mike McDaniel will end up getting fired at the end of this season of the Miami Dolphins. Coming in at number 5 of our training camp, I guess you'd call this intrigue ratings, you have the Dolphins. Now remember, a couple of years ago, the Dolphins, they kept making the wild card round, kept losing in that first round. 2 years ago, they lost to the Chiefs in the wild card round. So then they decided to make a move, make a change. It was an interesting move. They fired Vic Fangio. The players said they didn't like how rough he was in training camp, and in talking to them, a little gruff, not really a nice guy. Well, he's a defensive coordinator. He's not really supposed to be nice. So they fired him heading into last season. Now, as we know, Vic Fangio, the Eagles defensive coordinator, go Birds, and that ended up helping the Eagles really vault to number 1 in defense and win the Super Bowl. So not a great decision off the bat there from the Dolphins. Also, before the year of 2024, they signed Tua Tagovailoa to a 4-year, $212 million contract with $167 guaranteed. Again, with his injury questions, an interesting decision. Not really the decision that I would have made, considering he had only been healthy for 1 year, and the other couple of years he sadly left with concussions. But that was the decision they made, and so heading into last season early, it all just came apart. Tua got hurt early in the season. They never really found their footing as a team. Tua only played 11 games despite that big contract. They went 8-9. They actually went 6-5 with him, which isn't great either. But that's around where they've been. They've never won a wild card game with Mike McDaniel. He's been there for 3 seasons now. They constantly lose in the first round. They still can't win under the 40 degrees, which is just a crazy stat. Every time you see it in a game, you're like, I don't even gamble. And I'm like, man, I should be gambling on this, because they just can't win in any cold weather ever. They're going to throw $1 on it this year, but it's really crazy for the Dolphins. And then it got worse, because what used to be their strength, Tyreek Hill, mixed with obviously Jalen Waddle and those running backs, A-Chain and Mostert. Well, Mostert, he got let go, I think, this offseason. A-Chain's been dealing with injury issues, and then Tyreek Hill, right toward the end of the season, he tweeted the deuces. He had that press conference where he was looking very frustrated, and he kept talking about the Chiefs for the last like 2 or so weeks of the season. So just not great stuff coming out of the Dolphins from last year. Now, as we move on, Mike McDaniel toward the end of the season as well was saying he had a lack of control. He couldn't quite get star players to do what he needed them to do. Some people thought this was Tyreek Hill, although I heard the rumors. I heard it that it was Jalen Ramsey, and guess what happened? Offseason happened. Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey traded for Minka Fitzpatrick. Now, is Minka a better player than Jalen Ramsey? Of course, especially in this stage of their careers. But Jonnu Smith is a big loss for them. He was a huge tight end for them, big in that game, and a guy that Tua could really get the ball out to quick, and he would go out there and make plays. So interesting stuff. That's even before you get to training camp, where, I mean, the vid's bad. I can't lie. One of the reasons I'm doing them, the reason that they got to 5 over some other teams, it was the cartwheels vid. Them just doing the backflips and the cartwheels at training camp, and people I saw it was like an Instagram post. It was a meme. They're getting memed. They're now getting memed as like a team. Chris Broussard, I love First Things First. That's my show. Chris Broussard called them break dancers last year, and it sticks. That's what they are. They're break dancers. They're soft. They can't win under 40 degrees. Their lack of toughness isn't just because of it's not even their manhood. I don't want to go at their manhood. I will do it sometimes, but not specifically in this case. I think in this case, the biggest thing that's happening is that they don't really have offensive linemen, and they keep letting their defensive tackles walk. Now, one of them that they let walk was Christian Wilkins a couple years ago. He has his own issues dealing with. Can't be kissing people on the head, allegedly. But yeah, they don't have really great linebackers. They don't have really great D tackles. It's probably why Vic was always mad at them. Vic loves linebackers. They're just coming apart. You gotta see it. You kind of see, feel it. Apparently, Tyreek Hill in training camp, he's still causing issues right now to this day. I looked it up this morning. He's still a problem. Mike McDaniel, he had the quote, "Good day. No, it's a great day because we're one day closer to death." It's getting weird, and all that shit was cute. It was cute year one, you know. It was cute the first couple of years. Oh, look at this guy. He's quirky. He's coming over from the San Francisco 49ers, so we know he can coach. He definitely is really great at coaching offense. We love him. He's got the glasses. He just says stuff, you know what I mean? He's got like this demeanor that's definitely a little weird, but it's cool. He's like a cool weird. It ain't cool when you're missing the playoffs, and it's not cool when it's worse than missing the playoffs, because I'll give you examples. Like Kyle Shanahan missed the playoffs last year. I mean, that's the biggest one I think of. Tomlin doesn't miss, but I guess that's the point, right? Is that Tomlin never misses, whatever. But you can deal with that, and Kyle Shanahan's a much better coach than Mike McDaniel. Obviously, he's made Super Bowls. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is you can survive that if you look buttoned up. They look like a mess. And so the question really is Mike McDaniel's getting closer to death mean he's getting closer to being fired? I think he's about done. I think this is the last year of Mike McDaniel. I think this could implode. You kind of see it imploding. Unfortunately, they have a quarterback who is very susceptible to head injuries. So if he gets hit in the head, he's done. And at this point, I mean, it was a conversation last year, not so much this year, but everyone was up in arms. Should Tua retire? He said no. He said this is what he wants to do. He said you'll have to basically drag him off the field, and we're getting close to that point. He's been dragged off the field a couple times, and any injury he deals with to the head is automatically he's out 5 games. You know, sometimes concussions you see 2-3 weeks. He's done for 5 or 6 at this point, and it's only getting worse. And one of these, unfortunately, is going to be the blow where he not. But whatever. Besides all of that, just the fact is they clearly have flaws. I don't know how the defense is really getting better. They keep getting pass rushers, but there's a toughness problem. It's clear, it's obvious, and Mike McDaniel, part of the issue with him coming over from Shanahan is he looked at that offense, and the offense really, for the 49ers, don't put that many resources on the O-line. They have Trent Williams. They did trade for him, but other than that, Kyle Shanahan has said, like, I can find offensive linemen everywhere, and sometimes for the Niners, you see that's a problem for them. That's why they get bum rushed up the middle and you can't really run the ball in certain games, certain big game situations. But again, with Trent Williams, at least you have something you can put, you know what I mean? You can kind of lean on. The Dolphins don't have that. And Tyreek Hill, he keeps flirting with teams. He keeps saying, I want to get out of here. Get me out of here. It looks very combustible, and I think it's going to go very, very wrong very soon. But it does make for an interesting story, an interesting training camp, because one of the things about this, owner Stephen Ross, he was obviously sued. NFL was sued for the Brian Flores thing, which was firing him because he wouldn't tank games. Essentially, and he had a better record in those couple of years than Mike McDaniel's had in the 3 years. If you talk about winning percentage, like Flores kind of had it cooking, had them tough. They were playing defense, and now what the problem is, there is now becoming a lack of identity, because at any point their identity, which should be passing the ball. I mean, they have Tyreek Hill and Waddle and all these weapons still, even if they lost Jonnu. They still have A-Chain. They should hypothetically, and McDaniel calling the plays, they should hypothetically be a high-flying offense, but they can't even lean on that because of the Tua thing, and I think that's started kind of the beginning of the end. When McDaniel didn't take the opportunity, had that little gap where he could have chosen to maybe draft a quarterback to look at other options than a guy who just can't stay healthy. But you saw Tua's maxed out year, and his maxed out year is a wild. It's who he is. If he can't play in cold weather, went to Alabama, born in Hawaii. He's not good in cold weather. He's also left-handed, so sometimes the ball comes out weird. It's just a different angle. I don't know. Sorry, it's just the rules. They got problems. So I think Mike McDaniel is going to head into this season. He's already on the hot seat. If you Google it, I Googled his name this morning just to look up some news. I think the 5th or 6th search was Mike McDaniel hot seat. Not good. Not what you want to see when you Google yourself. Am I about to get fired? It's well talked about. It's a thing, and I think that Mike McDaniel will end up getting fired at the end of this season of the Miami Dolphins.